all are fit and fine at your places. I'm Priyanka Bish from Ardent Progressive School. Today in this session, we'll be starting the third chapter of business studies, which is business environment. In the first and second chapter, we have learned about the management and also about the management principles. So here we'll be studying about business environment. So the topic which will be discussed in today's session will be meaning of business environment, then features of business environment, importance of business environment, and dimensions of business environment. Now we will study in detail about the dimensions of business environment, which are social environment, economical environment, legal environment, political environment, and technological environment. So these are the topics which will be discussed in this session. Business environment. Now what is business environment? Business environment refers to forces, factors, individuals, and institutions which are outside the control of business enterprise, but somehow they affect its performances. So basically any external factor, or we can say any external forces which exist outside the business enterprise, but they influence the business, is business environment. For example, increase in tax by government make things expensive to buy, or technological changes may make the existing product obsolete, or we can say change in fashion and taste of consumer may shift the demand in the market. So these are some examples of external factors which affects the business, and that is known as business environment. Also, these factors includes economic, social, political, technological, legal, and other factors. So these are some examples of other factors which affects the business. So these are the forces which operates outside the business and are a part of business environment. Now we will discuss some features of business environment. So the first feature is all the external forces. Now, the business environment includes all the forces, institutions, and factors which are external to the business organization. As we have discussed earlier, all these forces or factors include social, economical, political, technological factors, etc., which affects the business. Second is specific and general forces. So specific forces are the forces which affects the business enterprise directly and immediately in their day-to-day working activities. For example, suppliers, investors, customers, these are some specific forces which directly affects the business enterprise. Second is general forces. So general forces are the forces which may affect the business only indirectly. For example, social, political, legal, technological conditions, these are the general forces which affects the firm indirectly. Third is interrelation. So interrelation means all the forces and external factors of business environments are interrelated to each other. For example, with the inclination of youth towards the Western culture, the demand for the fast food is increasing, which means nowadays the youths are inclining towards the Western culture. With that, the demand for fast food is increasing. So this is somehow related to each other. So business environment basically are interrelated to each other. Next is uncertainty. As we know, it is very difficult to predict the changes of business environment because the business environment keeps on changing very fast. For example, in fashion industry, fast and frequent changes takes place. In IT also, means technological changes also takes very fast. So it is difficult to predict the business environment changes. That is why business environment is uncertain. Next feature is dynamic. As we know, dynamic means which keeps on changing. So business environment is highly flexible and it keeps on changing, whether in terms of technological improvement or shifts in consumer preferences or entry of new competition in the market. So it is very essential to monitor and scan the business environment continuously because the condition and environment keeps on changing. Next is complexity. Complexity means it is very difficult to scan environment because we don't know how the business environment will have impact on the companies. Although it is easy to scan the environment, but it is difficult how these changes will influence the business decision, because some changes may be minor, but it might have larger impact. For example, a change in government policy to increase the rate by 5% may affect the income of the company by large amount. So here the changes were minor, but its impact has larger impact on the business. Or we can say it is difficult to know the impact of social, economical, political, technological, and legal factors on the change in demand of the product in the market. Last feature is relativity. So relativity means where the condition has different impact on different business. For example, there may be more demands for saris in India as compared to USA or UK. This is because the business environment differs from country to country, region to region, as the political conditions, cultures are different in different countries. So we can say business environment is relative. We will now discuss some importance of business environment. So the first importance is business environment enables the firm to identify opportunities and getting first mover advantage. First mover advantage means maximum benefits or profit by grabbing the opportunity at the earliest. So businessmen who are able to understand the business environment at early stage, they get maximum benefit, or we can say they can capture a big share in the market. For example, Maruti was the first company to recognize the need of small cars in an environment of rising petrol. So, they became the leader in the small car market. In the same way, WhatsApp was the first application for mobile chat. Afterwards, many applications came, but still WhatsApp is number one in mobile chat. Second importance is business environment helps the firm to identify the threats and early warning signal. This means the businessmen who are able to scan the business environment or who are able to understand the business environment on time to get a warning signal to deal with the negative policies of business environment. For example, the Maruti Udyog company got the information that more foreign car manufacturing are going to set up their business in India. So they took it as a warning signal and they started increasing their production capacity. So warning signal here means come to know in advance for the coming threats of the business due to scan of environment. Third importance is business environment helps in tapping and assembling useful resources, which means collecting the right type of resources as per the present requirement of business by foreseeing the requirement due to scan of business environment. For example, with the demand of LED TV, manufacturers are now collecting resources necessary to manufacture LED rather than collecting the resources of black and white TV or flat screen TV. Next importance is business environment helps to adjust and adapt with the rapid changes, which means bringing changes in organization as per changes in the environment, being innovative and adopting latest technology or latest method of production. So as we know, the business environment is dynamic, which means it is changed according to the changing environment. So the businessman, by scanning the business environment, can make changes in their internal environment to match the external environment. So environmental scanning helps in coping with the rapid changes. For example, due to increasing competition, customers are becoming more demanding, and it has become essential for the business enterprise to adapt rapidly change by technological environment. Next importance is business environment helps in assisting in planning and policy making, which means making plans and policy keeping in mind the conditions prevailing in the environment. So the businessman basically make major strategic plans and policy keeping in mind the business environment. For example, on scanning the Indian business environment, we find that there is great scope for tourism in the country. So businessmen are planning strategies to grab these opportunities. How? By by opening various hotels of private public sector ITC group so that it can make new strategies for the tourist. Third is business environment helps in improving in performances. So with the continuous scan of business environment, companies can easily improve their performance by making the changes in the internal environment matching to the external environment. So organization can improve their market share. So these were the importance of business environment. I think the next topic of business environment, which is dimensions of business environment. So as we know, business environments refers to the factors which are outside the control of business enterprises, but somehow they affect its performances. So there are various dimensions of business environment such as economic environment, social environment, technological environment, political environment, and legal environment. So these dimensions are considered relevant for decision making, and it also helps in improving the performances of an enterprise because these are the most common factors which mainly influences many business enterprises at the same time. So let's have a brief discussion of the factors constituting the business environment. Now, the first factor of dimensions of business environment is economical environment. So, economic environment refers to all the forces and factors which directly influence the economic of our country. The economic environment may consist of gross domestic product, income level at national level and per capita level, profit earning rate, productivity and employment rate, industrial, monetary, and fiscal policy of the government. These all consist of economic environment. Now, there are some aspects of economic environment. First is increase in GDP result in increase in disposable income of people and further increase in demand for the product, which means when GDP increases, the income of the people also increases, and with the increase in people's income, the demand for the product further increases. Second is high inflation rate set as constraints as they increase the cost of production. Passing of GST will affect almost all the business organization. Banking sector reform has led to many attractive schemes of deposit and lending money. The banks are offering loans at very nominal rate of interest and with minimum formalities to be completed. And also, recent changes in economic and fiscal policy of the country have encouraged NRIs and foreign investors to invest in Indian companies. There are some other aspects also which affects the business economic environment, such as role of private and public sector, rate of saving and investment, money supply in the economy, etc. Second dimension is social environment. So, social environment consists of the customs and tradition of the society in which business is existing. It includes the standard of living, taste, preferences, and education level of people living in the society where the business exists. The businessman cannot overlook the components of social environment as these components may not have immediate impact on the business, but in the long run, the social environment has a great impact on the business. Some example of social environments are celebration of Diwali, Eid, Christmas, Guru Parv, etc. increases the sale of sweets, greeting cards, etc. Now, there are some aspects of social environment which are demand for reservation in jobs for minority and women, demand for equal status of women by paying equal wages for male and female workers, demand for automatic machines and luxury items in the middle class family, social movements to improve the education level of girl child, health and fitness trend has become popular, change in quality of life, birth and death rates and population, education and literacy rates, importance or place of women in workforce, etc. Third dimension is political environment. So, political environment constitutes all the factors related to government affairs such as type of government in power, attitude of government towards different groups of societies, policy changes implemented by different governments, etc. The political environment has immediate and great impact on business transaction. So the businessman must scan this environment very carefully, and the businessman has to make changes in his organization according to the changing factor of political environment. Now, there are some common factors which have influenced the Indian political environment. These are Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started by the BJP government, Skill India movement started by BJP government, political stability encouraged business enterprises to invest in long-term projects, constitution of the country, foreign policies of the government. It may also include some other factors such as values and ideologies of the political parties, Skill India movement started by the BJP government, etc. Fourth dimension is legal environment. So the management of every business enterprise has to obey the law of land. Therefore, it is essential for every business to have adequate knowledge of rules and regulations framed by the government. Now, legal environment basically includes various laws and legislative act, administrative orders issued by the government authorities, court judgment, as well as decision rendered by various commissions and agency at every level of government, state, central or local. Now, to work successfully in India, the business enterprise must have details about Companies Act 1956, Industrial Act 1951, Trade Union Act 1926, Factories Act, etc. Now, there are some aspects of legal environment which are legal policies related to licensing and foreign trade, statutory warnings essential to be printed on label. For example, packets of cigarettes must have statutory warning. Foreign Exchange Regulation and Management Act, and laws to keep a check on advertisement. For example, the advertisement of alcohol products is prohibited, or the advertisement on baby food must inform that mother's milk is the best, etc. Now, the last dimension of business environment is technological environment. So, technological environment basically includes the forces related to the scientific improvements and innovations which provide new ways of producing goods and services, and also new way of operating business. There are few examples of recent technological changes which have affected the Indian business. These are online sale of grocery items is becoming very common. Online booking of air tickets, movie tickets. Due to technological advancement, customer can compare the fare prices of various airlines, hotels, and select the most economical. Shift from vacuum tubes to transistors, carbon paper to photocopier, etc. And import and export of technology. So we have discussed all the dimensions of business environment in this session. We'll continue with some more topics in the next session. That's all for today. Thank you.